Political turmoil has erupted in Israel, where the country will hold an unprecedented second election. This comes after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu failed to form a new government by midnight Wednesday. That was the deadline. He was just reelected just last month.
Netanyahu clashed with Israel's ultra-Orthodox factions. The main issue fueling this crisis is a fight over whether ultra-Orthodox men should also be required to serve in the military. So for more on this, we want to bring in I-24 News senior Washington correspondent Dan Raviv. He is with us from our D.C. bureau. Dan, so for a lot of people who are familiar with Israel and conscription, I always thought everybody in Israel, man or woman, has to serve a segment of time in Israel's military. And so what is this battle that's brewing between the ultra-Orthodox and this rule?
Hi, Vlad. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the general image in Israel, that all men at age 18 are drafted into the military and serve 3 years. Women serve for 2 years. The fact is that Israel's doing fine, according to the army over there, and often it's actually possible to get deferments or do other things as national service. But when it comes to the ultra-Orthodox, you know, those yeshiva students who typically dress in black, you know the look, the so-called Hasidic Jews, they don't have to serve. That's been the way it is in Israel since the founding of the country in 1948. And so it was highly controversial when just a couple of years ago, the Israeli government created a program to bring more of those ultra-Orthodox young men, only men, into the army to perform various functions, not in combat, but to work at hospitals, that kind of thing. Well, it actually turned out the ultra-Orthodox political parties said our men shouldn't have to do that. They're serving the country and protecting Israel by praying, by studying the Torah, by studying the holy books, and that is what protects Israel. Now, as I say, politically, the ultra-Orthodox have always had their own parties, and so they've pretty much had their way. The reason it actually came down to a big eruption last night is because a secular fella who's been in Netanyahu governments for the past 10 years, Avigdor Lieberman, he has his own party. It has 5 seats in the newly elected Knesset, or parliament, 5 out of 120. Netanyahu needed those 5. Avigdor Lieberman refused to budge. He said, you must pass a law that requires the ultra-Orthodox to go into the army. Otherwise, you're letting the ultra-Orthodox minority run things in this country. They shouldn't be exempt. Netanyahu tried to somehow achieve a compromise between the very secular Lieberman, who you're looking at now, and the ultra-Orthodox, but he couldn't achieve a compromise. So all Netanyahu could get is 60 votes. 60 out of 120? You need 61. That didn't cut it. So Parliament dissolved itself and set a new election date, September 17th. And they just had elections last month, Vlad and Emery.
So here's the thing. He was unable to form a coalition government. Benjamin Netanyahu really sort of eked by in this election. He had a tremendous amount of support from President Trump. In fact, you know, a huge chunk of his campaign was about how well he gets along with the president. I mean, is he confident that he's going to be able to win a second election, but not just win, actually get enough seats to form a government?
Well, Donald Trump still could be part of the story. And you're right, Anne-Marie. We talked about that even during the Israeli election campaign, that Trump clearly favored his old friend. Yes, someone he knows personally, Benjamin Netanyahu. And even a short time ago on the White House lawn, a reporter asked the president, what does he think about the failure by Netanyahu to put together a government? And President Trump said, it's too bad. He's a great guy. They don't need this. Now, a lot of people who watch U.S.-Israel relations, as I do, think that President Trump will try to help Netanyahu some more this year. We don't know, for instance, whether the so-called peace plan that the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is working on, maybe will favor Israel, maybe will come out despite this weird political period that Israel's going through. You may know a very short time ago in Jerusalem, Kushner and his partner in this, Jason Greenblatt, also Brian Hook, who's the Trump administration's main envoy on the Iran issue, those 3 men went to see Netanyahu in Jerusalem, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, referring to all this mess you're seeing in the Knesset parliament last night, Netanyahu said, we had a small event last night. That won't stop us from strengthening U.S.-Israel relations, which indeed are strong.
Dan, in fact, the PM's office just tweeted a photo opportunity with Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, and Prime Minister Netanyahu. So what can we expect of this this peace plan. The president has said if anybody can bring peace to the Middle East, it's Jared Kushner. So I'm waiting.
So much of the plan relied so heavily on Jared Kushner's relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu, having known him, Benjamin Netanyahu having known him since he was a little boy.
Right.
And the details of this mysterious plan we were supposed to find out after this election.
Yeah, it was delayed and delayed and delayed. So will it be postponed again? Normally, under the usual diplomatic rules, if Israel's in an election campaign, you don't put out a peace plan for the Israelis and Palestinians at this time. Will it be postponed? Well, here, scheduled for the Arabian Gulf country of Bahrain, June 25th and 26th, is an economic conference which is said to be the beginning of the rollout of the Jared Kushner peace plan, the economic side. Apparently, the U.S. won't say what it favors when it comes to borders, should there be a Palestinian state, but they're putting together donors, investors, corporations that will say they'd be willing to invest tens of billions of dollars in the West Bank and Gaza to make Palestinians wealthier, more prosperous, happier, but not necessarily with the promise of their own state. The Palestinians so far are refusing to speak to the U.S. at any level about any of this. We don't know if there'll be a further delay.
Dan Raviv, always great to talk to you about this. Thank you so much, my friend.